Hello, good evening, and welcome to Unacademy IAS, a one stop destination for all the English medium civil services aspirants. Welcome to a session wherein we are going to cover all the important schemes of Government of India which you need to understand and have a look at on which the questions can be asked in the upcoming civil services mains examination. Before I start the discussion, I just want you to understand the importance of this particular session, why you should attend this particular session, what are the kind of questions which can be asked in the UPSC mains examination from these particular schemes, etc. But before I do that, please do let me know in the chat section that I'm audible and visible for everyone. Am I audible and visible for everyone? Please do let me know. Done. Okay, so before I take up the discussion, before I take up the first initiative of the Government of India, etc., please understand in GS paper 3, let me give you one example. GS paper 3, that is essentially associated with Indian economy, science and technology, etc. Every year, there is at least one question which is asked, which is directly focusing on the schemes of Government of India. There is one question asked. For example, let's say last year, if you have seen the question paper of last year, that is the mains examination 2024, this was the question asked by the UPSC. The question basically read, what is the need for expanding the regional air connectivity in India? In this context, discuss the government's Udan scheme and its achievement. And it's not that directly the question will be asked on the scheme. Only there you can use these initiatives to write an answer. Absolutely no. Even in certain cases, the questions can be asked which are not directly connected to the scheme. But in the process of writing the answer, if you're writing, let's say, in 250 words or 150 words, easily you can inculcate, you can include certain schemes, initiatives of Government of India. For example, have a look at the question here. The adoption of electric vehicles is rapidly growing worldwide. How do electric vehicles contribute to reducing carbon emissions? And what are the key benefits they offer compared to traditional combustion engine vehicles? When you look at this kind of a statement, can you include initiatives of Government of India which have been undertaken to promote EV production and the sales in India? When you look at the questions such as economic growth requires increasing the share of manufacturing sector, can you include initiatives of Government of India to promote manufacturing sector in India? So on and so forth. So I hope you understand the questions in the mains examination will be asked directly on the schemes. If not this, there will be questions which will be asked by UPSC where you can inculcate the information from the schemes to write the mains answer. Okay, that is the reason. Please attend this particular session. Have a look at all the schemes that I'm covering. Revise these particular schemes, especially the evaluation part. You can use the information in the answer writing. Now, before I start the discussion, certain very important announcements. First one, whatever I discuss today, should you keep on making notes on this? Should you write down whatever initiatives I take up in this particular session? Answer is no. After the session is over, two things will happen. One, whatever PPT I'm using, I will upload this on the Telegram channel. You can download it from the Telegram channel. And second, I'm covering 15 schemes. These are the 15 schemes I'm going to cover today. The notes on all these 15 schemes will also be uploaded in my Telegram channel. The evaluation part of it, the basic points associated with the scheme, the updated information from the Government of India documents, all of this is included. Certain schemes, the information will be very high amount of information will be there. You can take up or basically memorize the relevant ones, that is which is needed for civil services. In certain schemes, right, strictly conforming to, right, whatever is needed about the basic points, and the implementation has been provided. So the handout will be made available in my Telegram channel. You can download after the session is over. Now, if you're someone who is aiming to ace the civil services examination, let's say 2026, 2027, you can avail our courses at a price of 17,999. Once you enroll, you'll be able to get access to recorded or the live sessions of English medium, Hindi, as well as English medium classes. You'll be able to avail the material that you can use for revision purposes. You'll be able to get access to mentorship services, and you'll be able to get access to the prelims as well as mains test series. This course is available at 17,999, and I've been told it is available only for the next 3 days. Those who are interested, just check out the details by clicking on the link provided in the description below. And if you use the code IAS English, you will also get up to 12 months of free extension. And if you're someone who will simply say, sir, I'm not looking at right basically 1 year course now, I want to just focus on the mains examination, clear the mains examination. Is there any offering that will help me in clearing the mains examination? We are right now running a course, Conquer Mains 2025, purely English batch. You can avail this particular course at a price of 5,999 rupees. You'll get access to the UCAN sessions from the month of January 2025 till, right, let's say the month of August. Whatever current affairs sessions that we have taken on UCAN, you can avail that. You can get access to the classes which are being conducted right now, covering right all these important areas such as social issues, economy, polity, international relations, etc. In addition to that, you will also get access to the main test series that is happening right now. So those who are interested, do click on the link provided in the description below. You can check out the details. Now, let me start the discussion. The first initiative that I'll be discussing will be PM Mudra Yojana. PM Mudra Yojana. Now, the model of the discussion will be very simple. First, I'll give you a question. What kind of question or questions can be asked in the mains? Then I'll discuss the initiative. So please have a look at the question now. The PM Mudra Yojana has helped promote inclusion, empowerment, and risk taking in the last decade. Discuss 15 marker in 250 words. Now, why this question can be asked, or why the question on PM Mudra might be asked in the upcoming mains? Reason is very simple. The tendency of UPSC is pick up any initiative which has completed either 5 years or 10 years, or an initiative which has been there in the discussion for multiple months now. The PM Mudra Yojana has completed 10 years. Remember this. The PM Mudra Yojana has completed 10 years. It was launched back in the year 2015. What are the important points? Listen to me very carefully. Whenever you talk about Indian economy, one area that we need to focus is the micro, small, and medium enterprises, MSME. The questions have been asked in the past based on MSME, can be asked again this year based on MSME. Now, the issue with MSMEs, I'll just give you two current affairs issues related to MSMEs. First issue, very recently, Niti Ayog CEO mentioned that there are very small number, very few of these MSMEs are medium enterprises in India. Very small number of them are actually medium enterprises, right? MSME stands for micro, small, and medium. Around 6.18 crore is the number of MSME units. 6.18 crore. If you break up this particular 6.18 crore, around 6.09 crore will be micro enterprises. Around 7 lakh will be small enterprises. And around 70,000 will be medium enterprise. Why do you need these particular, right? Let's say medium or small enterprises. The reason is very simple. You cannot continue to sustain the same level of operations. The size of the enterprise has to increase. The enterprise has to invest money, acquire more assets, generate more employment, become globally competitive, become sustainable, etc. But for all of this to happen, the size of the enterprises should expand, should increase. You cannot continue to become or remain only micro enterprise. You should migrate from micro to small, small to medium. But in case of India, if you look at the number, you will realize that almost around 90% of the enterprises, 90% of the enterprises are micro enterprises only. Right? So there is a problem associated with MSME that is called a scaling issue, right? Missing middle issue. That is one point. Point number two, very recently there was a report published by SIDBI. There was a report published by SIDBI. What that report mentioned was there is a huge amount of a credit gap which is holding back the MSME sector. There is huge amount of credit gap that is holding back the MSME sector. What do you mean by credit gap here? The total demand for the institutional credit is more than 100 lakh crore rupees. But the supply is much lower than that. Almost 30 lakh crore rupee worth of demand for the institutional credit is not being met. So the argument is very simple here. MSMEs play a very important role. But MSMEs are suffering because of certain issues. So far, so good with everyone. Please do let me in the chat section. Now, one reform which has been implemented by the government of India in the last one decade, which is helping the MSMEs, is the concept of Prime Minister Mudra Yojana. Pradhana Mantri's Micro Units Development and Refinancing Agency, PM Mudra. Now, what are the important points associated with PM Mudra? Under PM Mudra, they will provide collateral free loans. They will provide collateral free loans. What do you mean by collateral free loans? You do not have to provide any security to get a loan. What is the maximum value of the loan under PM Mudra Yojana? It will be 20 lakh rupees. 20 lakh rupees. And under PM Mudra Yojana, the target is essentially the micro and small enterprises. Micro and small enterprises, and the loans are provided essentially through banks, right? Be it RRBs, be it cooperative banks, be it scheduled commercial banks, etc. These are the institutions which will provide loans under PM Mudra Yojana. Now, what has been the performance of this initiative? Mind you, until very recently, the maximum value of the loan provided under Mudra Yojana was 10 lakh rupees. Until very recently, it was 10 lakh rupees. And this year, it has been doubled to 20 lakh rupees under a category called as Tarun Plus category. So, this initiative has been implemented by the government of India for the last 10 years. That is more than a decade now. So, what has been the performance of PM Mudra Yojana? If at all a question is asked, tell me how Mudra Yojana is helping financial inclusion, how it is helping in women empowerment, how it is helping in scaling up of these enterprises. These are certain points that you should mention in your answer. For example, many of these enterprises which are present in the rural part of India, until recently, they were finding it very difficult to get institutional credit because they could not provide any kind of collateral. But under Mudra Yojana, lot of these enterprises, whether they are located in rural India or urban India, now they have been able to get access to the institutional loans. Many of the loans have been provided for right these particular MSMEs under Tarun category, under Shishu Kishore category. Right, essentially the categorization is Shishu, Kishore, and Tarun. And as you keep on borrowing under one category and repaying, higher level of loan, higher category of loan is provided to you. So when you keep on borrowing and you basically borrow under Shishu, repay, and now you are allowed to borrow under Kishore category, repay the loan. Now you are allowed to borrow under Tarun category, repay the loan. Does it not mean you are able to borrow higher value of loan and repay this particular loan? This will help you in scaling up, in expanding the operations of the enterprise. It has helped in the scaling up of the enterprises. If you look at what kind of borrowers have taken the loans, how many of them are women? How many of them belong to minorities? how many of them belong to SC, ST categories, etc. The data is given here. 50% of the Mudra accounts have been held by SC, ST, OBC category. This has helped in promotion of financial inclusion. Women empowerment. 60% of the beneficiaries under Mudra Yojana are women beneficiaries. That is helping in women empowerment. MSMEs lending in the banking sector has increased now because of Mudra Yojana. 8.5 lakh crore rupees in financial year 14 to 27 lakh crore rupees in financial year 24. So essentially, what is the importance of these particular points? Where can you use it? You can use these points to prove it is helping in women empowerment, financial inclusion. It has helped in scaling up of the enterprises. It has helped many of these job seekers to basically convert themselves into job providers or job creators in the Indian market. So these are certain very important achievements associated with the 10 years or the decade of Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana. Everybody is okay? Please do let me know in the chat section. Everybody is okay, right? So these are certain important points. First initiative, PM Mudra Yojana. Okay, let me go forward. Second initiative, right? Please have a look at the question first. Have a look at the question. Discuss how the Swamitva scheme will improve rural planning. It will help in rural planning. Okay, right? So this is the question here. How Swamitva scheme will help in rural planning. Right? You are supposed to discuss this, right? 15 marker question in 250 words. What are the important points here? Point number one, Swamitva scheme essentially stands for what? Survey of villages, Abadi, and mapping with improvised technology in village areas. Swamitva scheme. Now, what is the importance of the scheme? Listen to me very carefully. There are a lot of land parcels. Land parcels essentially means the pieces of land on which either, right, let's say the cultivation is being conducted or on which the property is being built, that is, the houses are built, etc. One of the issues is there is no clear title associated with these particular land parcels. What do you mean by clear title? I do not have a piece of paper which, without any doubt, will give me ownership of the land, which will essentially tell the whole world, or this can be used as a proof to say that I am the only owner of the land. That is called as a clear title. There are multiple documents with multiple people with the same survey number, which leads to a lot of land disputes. And that is the precise reason even the pieces of land which are there in rural India, which are owned by the farmers, etc., they cannot use this piece of land, let's say, to provide it to a bank as a collateral and take a loan, because this piece of land is in a dispute right now. It has fallen into a dispute. So there are certain issues in a rural part of India. The government of India, over a period of time, has implemented multiple land reforms. It has implemented multiple types of reforms to basically promote the issue of land ownership in India. And that is the precise reason under this initiative, under multiple initiatives, this initiative, Swamitva scheme, becomes very, very important. Point number one, the Swamitva scheme has completed 5 years. It was launched in 2020 and right, it is supposed to wind up in 25 and 26. So what has happened under the Swamitva scheme? What is the importance of the Swamitva scheme? Achievement, you focus on that. Now, what is the status of Swamitva scheme? Under Swamitva scheme, essentially we are using drones to survey all the pieces of land. We are going to use the drones to conduct a survey. And using the drone technology, once the survey is conducted, we are going to create these particular new maps. Using the maps, we are going to we are going to issue Swamitva cards. We are going to issue Swamitva cards, which will be, right, basically providing now the title or the ownership of the property. The property cards, these are called as Swamitva cards. These will be issued by the government, essentially providing the title or the ownership of this particular piece of land to the people who are covered, the villages which are covered under the Swamitva. Now, what is the status? Over 2.4 crore property cards have been created so far, covering 1.6 lakh villages in India. Almost 90% of the total drone mapping, that is, the area has been covered using the drone now. 90% of the land has been covered. Survey has been done. Drone surveys have been completed in 3.2 lakh villages across the whole of India. The scheme has targeted 2026 as the expiry date. That is, the due date is 2026. And I've told you, 5 years already over. The scheme has onboarded 32 states as well as union territories. Now, what is the importance of this scheme? What has been the achievement of the scheme? Listen to me carefully. One, once the property cards are issued by the government, now the farmers can monetize the piece of land. Farmers can monetize the piece of land. Monetize means what? I told you until now, the farmers did not have a piece of paper which provided them with a definite ownership of piece of land. Now, if I have a property card which has been issued by the central government, I can easily take this card, show that I'm the owner of the piece of land, provide it as a collateral with a bank or any other financial institution, borrow from the financial institution. Done. So that is the first very important achievement of Swamitva scheme. Point number two, it has also helped in assessing which piece of land is owned by whom. Now we are establishing ownership status of the properties. We are establishing the ownership status. And when you can establish the ownership status, can you now using this calculate how much is the property tax the owner owes to the municipality? What is the property tax or how much is the property tax the owner is supposed to give to, right, the local government there? So property tax assessment can be easily done using this initiative. Point number three, this will also help the government, especially the local government, in correctly understanding the ownership status of the pieces of land and according to that formulate policies. According to that formulate the policies, right, regarding promotion of certain infrastructure project or implementation of certain other infrastructure projects, right, irrigation projects, etc. Right, so these are certain very important outcomes associated with Swamitva scheme. Everybody is okay, right? So I've basically told you what is the importance of the scheme, what is the status of the scheme, and what has been the achievement of the scheme. If you can have this amount of information, you can easily write any kind of a question which is going to be asked associated with the Swamitwa scheme in the UPSC mains examination. And I'm pretty sure those who have seen the UPSC question paper, GS paper 3 question paper, they will know that one question is asked on land reforms. Am I right? Please do let me know. One question generally is asked on land reforms. And this particular question, most of the times, is associated with the current affairs initiative. So please be very careful. This is one initiative associated with land reforms. If at all a question is asked, because it has completed 5 years, probability is very high. Make a note of this. Before I go forward, some of you are asking questions. So listen to me carefully. Will there be any cap on the land area? My dear, the cap associated with the land area is associated with one more land reforms which is called as ceiling on land. It is not associated with Swamitva. There is a ceiling initiative, right, which will impose a cap as to how much is the maximum amount of land you are allowed to own. Under Swamitva, we are not measuring how much land you own. No. The focus here is to basically find out who owns this piece of land. Provide them with the card. Done. And this is targeted. This is targeted in a rural part of India. This is targeted in the rural part of India. There is one more question. What is missing middle? My dear, missing middle means I was telling you about this. You have micro, you have small, and a medium enterprises. You set up as a micro enterprise, you migrate from the micro to small, and after certain years, you migrate from small to medium. And then you basically become a large company or a bigger company. Now, if the small number of enterprises that is classified as small, if the number of enterprises are very, very less, if the medium classification enterprises are very, very less, don't you think migration into large enterprises or large companies will also be very less? That is essentially the problem associated with, right, let's say the MSME enterprises in India. So the middle categories, right, the middle part is actually missing. That is missing middle hypothesis. Why don't they consider the recent papers? My dear, I hope you understand this. Recent papers is held by multiple people. Have you not seen why property will fall into a dispute? Let's say there is one person who owns a piece of land, has three children. The person passes away without a will. Then who will be given the ownership of this piece of land? All of them will run to court, file a case on each other. If there are two people who are having the same piece of land, I'm sorry, the document with the same survey number, they will also go to court, file a case. And again, the land will fall into litigation. Again, I hope you are reading, you are aware of the realities. Can't simply say take the latest data or latest paper and the land will be, right, let's say any dispute free. Doesn't happen. Lot of times there will be a dispute on that. Okay, let me go forward. Next initiative that I want to cover is the CGS NPF. CGS NPF. Right? What is the CGS NPF? Credit Guarantee Scheme. CGS NPF stands for Credit Guarantee Scheme for ENWR based pledge financing. CGS NPF. Now, what is the CGS NPF? But before that, have a look at the question. The CGS NPF scheme will help in addressing post harvest challenges and promoting warehouse based financing in India. Elaborate in 15 marks, 250 words. Now, before I explain to you, right, the concept of a CGS NPF, listen to me the important points. Apart from multiple problems which are faced by the farmers, one problem is once they harvest the crop, if they want to sell it in the market, the prices could be very low. Generally happens. They have harvested the crop. They want to sell it in the market. The prices are very, very low. So if they sell it in the market now, they will not be able to earn sufficient amount of income. And on the other hand, if they store the crops, if they simply store the crops, now they will not have sufficient amount of money to purchase inputs for next cycle of cultivation. And I hope all of you know this. Most of the farming in case of India is small and marginal. Most of the farming is small and marginal. How much? According to the latest agriculture census, around 86 to 87%. Around 86 to 87% of the farming in India is small and marginal, which means the amount of incomes they are earning is very limited. So here is the dilemma. The farmer wants to sell the crop, prices are lesser. The farmer wants to purchase the inputs for the next cycle of cultivation. Without selling, they will not have sufficient amount of money. So there is a dilemma. There is always a dilemma. So what is the solution to all of this? The solution to all of this is the concept called as negotiable warehouse receipt system. NWRS, negotiable warehouse receipt system. And in fact, there is a committee, please remember the name of the committee, Shanta Kumar Committee. Shanta Kumar Committee. The Shanta Kumar Committee has recommended that we should promote the utilization of negotiable warehouse receipt system. Now, let's start the discussion here. What is the importance of this? I'm a farmer. I will take the crop, submit the crop in the warehouse. The warehouse will issue a receipt to me. That is a bill. This is called as a warehouse receipt. I will take the warehouse receipt to the bank, submit this receipt with the bank, take a loan from the bank. This is called as negotiable warehouse receipt system. Now, this particular negotiable warehouse receipt system, instead of being issued in a physical form, in a hard copy, they will issue in the digital copy form. Is it okay? The digital version of the receipt is issued. That's the reason this is called as electronic negotiable warehouse receipt. Now, there is always one concern. What is a concern? If I'm a bank, a farmer will deposit this ENWRS with me. What is the guarantee that the payment of the loan is done by the farmer back to me? That is, the farmer takes a loan. They will show the ENWRS to me. They will take a loan. What is the guarantee that they will repay the loan? It may so happen that the prices in the market will not go up. The farmer will not be able to earn sufficient amount of income. So the loan that has been given by me might be defaulted by the farmer. So there is always this concern that is associated with the default of the loan, right? Associated with the NWRS loans. So what is the solution to this? The government of India has launched an initiative called as Credit Guarantee Scheme for ENWR based pledge financing. What will happen under this? Listen to me carefully. The concept of credit guarantee is very simple. Let's say I'm a farmer. I will deposit NWRS, that is electronic NWRS, and take a loan from a bank. Now, the government of India, under this initiative, will guarantee certain amount of payment to the bank. Is everybody able to understand this? The government of India will guarantee certain amount of payment to the bank if I do not repay the loan. If I default on the payment of loan, the government of India will guarantee the payment. This is the concept of a credit guarantee. So now, pledge financing. Pledge means I'm pledging the receipt, the negotiable warehouse receipt. I'm pledging the receipt. I'm taking a loan. On pledge financing, the government will provide credit guarantee. Right? This is the important initiative. It is expected to promote, right, utilization of ENWRS by the farmers to take more and more loans from the banking institute. Right, so the total amount of corpus which has been set up by government of India is 1000 crore rupees. The loan coverage will be up to 75 lakh rupees. You can take a loan which will be covered under this initiative for agriculture purposes. If you want to take a loan for non-agriculture purposes, you're a farmer, right? For non-agriculture purposes also, you can take a loan by pledging the ENWRS, but the value of loan that will be covered under this will be up to 2 crore rupees. Right? Are SC, STs, farmers, etc. covered? Small and marginal farmers covered? Answer to all of this is yes. Right? Who will be covered under this initiative? Scheduled banks as well as cooperative banks will be covered under. Done? So what is the importance of this initiative? Importance is very simple. The farmers face the problem associated with getting access to institutional loans because the banks are worried that the farmer might default upon on the loan. Now, through this initiative, the government of India is ensuring that the negotiable warehouse receipts can be utilized by the farmers to take a loan from the bank without having to be worried because the government is providing guarantees on these particular loans. Everybody is okay? Please do let me know regarding this initiative. Everybody is okay. Can I move forward now? Do let me know in the chat section. Anish, good evening, sir. I've watched your several lectures of Indian economy, but I've never seen you discussing about the 5-year plans and new economic policy. My dear, that is not needed. The 5-year plans is not needed now. Why? 5-year plans is dead and gone. Why do you want to read about 5-year plans? How many questions have been asked in the last 5 years? Check in the mains examination, 5-year plan, no question has been asked. In prelims, at least one was asked in the last 5 years. So why do you want to waste your time on something as a concept, as a information is not useful for UPSC? But this year, if you have watched my videos, you will know that I've told you be very careful about Niti Ayog. Question can be asked in the mains examination on Niti Ayog because it has completed 10 years. That is the precise reason. Okay, let me go forward. Next question. The Sagarmala initiative has contributed to economic, social, and infrastructural improvements. Elaborate. So the question is on the Sagarmala initiative. In the mains syllabus, if you have seen the syllabus carefully, there is one topic that is mentioned infrastructure. There is one topic which is mentioned infrastructure. Infrastructure is a specific topic mentioned in the main syllabus. And one question is asked by UPSC on infrastructure. Minimum one question. Now, associated with infrastructure, there is civil aviation. For example, last year, Udan initiative was launched or asked. Before that, PPP in airport was asked. Right? So there are multiple types of infrastructure. One type of infrastructure is the port infrastructure. Port infrastructure. And this year, I'm expecting a question on port infrastructure. Because if you have seen the trend, the airport is asked, right? The question on, right? Let's say the PPP in, right, civil aviation has been asked. And in the recent times, the port infrastructure has been there in the discussion for multiple reasons. So suddenly a question can be asked in the ports. So one initiative, one scheme of Government of India associated with the port infrastructure is the Sagarmala initiative. And within Sagarmala initiative, this is important. Reason being, one of the areas within the Sagarmala initiative is inland waterways. And the second reason why I'm expecting a question on Sagarmala is because it has completed 10 years now. It has completed 10 years. So these are some of the reasons why I'm expecting a question on the Sagarmala initiative in this, right, mains examination. Now, what is this Sagarmala initiative? Important points here. Listen to me carefully. Point number one, Sagarmala initiative was launched by the Government of India back in 2015. So it has completed 10 years. The Sagarmala initiative basically functions or is built upon five pillars. There are five pillars under Sagarmala initiative. One is a port-led industrialization. Second one is the coastal community development. Third one is coastal shipping and inland waterways. Fourth one is the port modernization. And the fifth one is port connectivity. And what are the important points if I have to move from the right to left here? Port connectivity, please understand, around 70% of the value of the exports and imports and around 95% of the total trade that is conducted by India is done through ports. Is the point clear? I'll repeat this again. Around 70% by value and 95% by volume of the total trade that is conducted by India is done through ports. And because the ports are so important, so critical in terms of international trade, right? The trade in terms of imports as well as exports, you need to ensure the ports are connected to the other parts of India as well. Because right now, if you look at the major ports which are operational, you have six on the eastern coast, six on the western coast. Again, operational. And the rest of India is supposed to have connectivity with these particular major ports. So you need to have better connectivity. That is one of the pillars. Second pillar is within the port. If these are old ports, if these are the new ports which are being developed, you need to have better equipments, better technology, etc. Third one is right, the coastal shipping as well as the inland waterways. You need to connect these particular inland waterways so that easy transportation can be done. The waterways is efficient, economical, right, in terms of, let's say, cost, in terms of fuel consumption, in terms of emissions, etc. So you need to develop inland waterways. Fourth one is a coastal community development. You can promote tourism in the coastal region. You can basically provide skilling to the people residing in the coastal region, which is being done by the government of India under Sagarmala initiative, by the way. And the fifth one is development of industries. Why not promote the development of these industries in the region of ports, so that whatever you have produced, you can easily export to the international market, and the import of raw material, critical inputs, etc., can easily be done if you are present nearby the ports. So, development of industries near the ports. So, these are the five critical pillars of the Sagarmala initiative. So, what has been the performance? What has been the performance of the Sagarmala initiative? Because we have completed 10 years now, the Sagarmala initiative has made the ports much more faster in terms of imports as well as exports, boosted the coastal economy, revived inland waterways. Because understand this, inland waterways in case of India until recently were not developed to the extent of requirement. Right? If you look at the countries such as China, the inland waterways, there the length of the inland waterways is more than a lakh kilometer. In case of India, it is in the range of 10 to 15,000 kilometers. So inland waterways such as canal water utilization for transportation, river water for transportation, etc., is being promoted by the government only in the last 1 decade through a policy. Inland Waterways Authority of India has been set up. We are developing these inland waterways. So it has made the ports faster, boosted the coastal economy, revived inland waterways, and improved India's ranking in the global market. Coastal shipping also has increased by more than 110% in the last 1 decade. The amount of imports and exports we are doing has increased by more than 110%. RoPax ferries have moved 40 lakh passengers. What are these RoPax ferries? You must have seen certain ships which will carry vehicles as well as passengers. Right, the ships which will carry both of them. That is right. The people are also boarding on the ship, right, and vehicles can also right be carried in these particular ships. These are called as RoPax ferries. The RoPax ferries have moved 40 lakh passengers, and this is being promoted under the Sagarmala. Inland waterway cargo has increased by 700%. 9 Indian ports are ranked in the top 100 ports in the world now. And Indian ports have started outperforming many of the global ports in many of these parameters. For example, there is a parameter which is used to measure the efficiency, that is, how much time is taken for the vessel to basically come, right, the land, or let's say it's stop in the port, right, then the let's say containers are unloaded and the containers are loaded, and basically the ship or vessel will go to the next destination. How much time is taken? Right, this particular time, one of the performance indicators, India's performance has started improving in recent. Done. So these are certain very important points which show that, right, the performance of the ports in India, which are critical in terms of right, let's say economic activity, critical in terms of global trade, critical in terms of employment, etc. These particular, right, let's say ports and the infrastructure, right, or let's say the region surrounding the ports, everybody has started performing well, is getting the benefit of the Sagarmala initiative. And everybody is okay with this initiative of Sagarmala? Please do let me know. And the reason why I'm saying is, port has been there in the discussion. Sagarmala has completed 10 years. Sagarmala has completed 10 years. Can we go forward now? Why establishment of industry? My dear, if you set up a manufacturing unit nearby the port, if you import something, don't you think transportation time, transportation cost, etc., can be controlled? If you're producing something and exporting, for example, if your SEZ unit, special economic zone unit, rather than being present in any other part of India, if you are present nearby the port, you're manufacturing something, can you export it very easily and control the cost of transportation? Yes. In fact, I don't know how many of you remember this particular point as well. One issue that is generally talked in the context of India's production is high cost of logistics. How many of you heard of this? One of the issues why Indian exports are not so competitive in the international market is the high cost of logistics. Generally, the estimates which are provided say that the cost of logistics in case of India is in the range of around 12 to 14%. Whereas you take developed economies such as USA, China for that matter, the cost of logistics is in the range of 6 to 8%. So if you can reduce the cost of logistics, which is the target of government of India by the way, if you reduce the cost of logistics, market prices will go down. And if the market prices will go down, automatically the exports can become more competitive now, assuming everything else will remain the same. Right? That is the reason why government of India is implementing multiple reforms. For example, don't you think one of the outcomes of one of the outcomes of FASTag is reduction in the cost of logistics? One of the outcomes of implementation of GST, goods and services tax, is in the reduction of cost of logistics. One of the outcomes of promotion of inland waterways transportation is reduction in the cost of logistics. Right? So I hope you understand multiple reforms, and this can be asked as a straightforward question in the mains examination. Is it okay? This can be asked as a straightforward question in the mains examination. Be careful, accumulate all of these particular points, and then basically say these are the reforms which have been undertaken by the government in the last couple of years to reduce the cost of logistics. Okay, one, two, three, four, like this. Okay, let me go forward. Next, the initiative that I'll be taking will be PM Internship Scheme. PM Internship Scheme. Now, two questions I've given just so that you have sufficient idea. Question number one, the PM internship will play a pivotal role in addressing the issues of unemployability and skill gap. Discuss 15 marker 251. There is a need to shift from the supply driven to demand driven labor in India, and the recent policies are helping in achieving it. Elaborate 250 words, 15 marker. Now, listen to me very carefully. Point number one, what is this idea of employability, right? What is this idea of a skill gap and employability? Whenever you talk about employment issues in India, whenever you talk about employment issues in India, let's say unemployment issues, you will come across a term called as a skill gap, right? What do you mean by skill gap? It's not that I don't have any kind of skill set. I have certain skill sets, but the skill sets that are needed by the market are different compared to what kind of skill sets I have. The company requires a different amount or different set of skill sets. I have completely different set of skill sets. This is called as a skill gap. And whenever there's a skill gap, it generally leads to underemployment. It leads to underemployment. That is a problem. Right? Underemployment is a problem in India. Right? This is one point. Second point is this idea of demand driven labor and supply driven labor is often talked again in the context of India. What is the meaning of it? Until very recently, the government simply used to implement a policy to promote skilling of the labor. The people will get skilled, and then we expected the market to simply absorb the labor. That is, simply provide employment to the labor. But there is a problem. What is the problem? What if these skill sets that I've provided are not required by the market? There is no demand for such kind of labor in the market. Again, that will lead to a problem. So until very recently, we followed a model called as supply driven labor. Supply driven labor. But the government of India has realized this. The government of India has realized the problem. And that is the reason various initiatives now have been modified. For example, initiatives such as a Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana. Under Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana, the central government has mandated that we should set up the skill commissions, right? At district level, we should set up skill commissions. And these skill commissions will basically conduct a survey in the district, find out what kind of industries are present, what kind of skill sets are required, and based on that, create, right, basically a program, provide training to the people, and now, whatever is the demand, we are supplying the labor with the same kind of skill sets. This model is called as demand driven labor. Is everybody able to understand the concept here? Please do let me know. Skill gap, supply driven labor, demand driven labor. And based on this, all of you will agree the demand driven labor is much better compared to supply driven labor. Right? So, in order to address this particular issue, Government of India now has launched one more initiative, the Prime Minister Internship Scheme, PM Internship Scheme, which was announced in the budget 24 and 25. July 24, the Government of India, Finance Minister announced five initiatives. One of the initiative was essentially the PM Internship Scheme. Now, what is the importance of the PM Internship Scheme? Right? The argument is very simple. Rather than simply skilling the people, then supplying the labor to the market, why don't we ask the companies to provide training to the people? Right? Why don't we simply ask the companies themselves to provide training to certain number of people? And if a company is going to provide training to, let's say, 1 lakh people or 2 lakh people, obviously it will provide the skill sets which are required by the same company. And if these skill sets are already there with these particular people, even though the training period is over, don't you think lot of them will be, right, basically employed by these companies because they don't have to search for other labor. They already have certain labor which has the skill sets which are needed by the company. That is the whole idea of the PM internship scheme. Remember, the PM internship scheme doesn't provide labor, doesn't provide employment to you. It basically promotes employability. Is it okay? It will basically promote your employability. That is, it will ensure that you will acquire certain skill sets which are needed by the market. That is the whole objective of the PM internship scheme. And through this, the government of India can also address the issue of skill gap. Because if I provide the skilling, market may not require it. But if I ask the market itself to provide the skilling to you, obviously they will provide the training based on their requirement. That is the PM internship scheme. Now, point number one, it aims to provide internship to 1 crore people in a span of 5 years. Under this, we want to target 1 crore people, 1 crore youth in the age group of 21 to 24 years who do not have any kind of a job right now. These people will be provided with the internship of 1 year under the PMIS. I'll start using the short form now, PMIS, PM Internship Scheme. Now, what is the importance of this? 1 year training will be provided, and these particular people will be trained by the companies in India. The private sector companies will be providing the training, internship of 1 year under this initiative. What is the benefit for the company in this? The company basically says we will have to anyways incur expenditure under the CSR, corporate social responsibility. Under the CSR initiative, the companies will have to spend at least 2% of their profits for certain initiatives. The government simply says the expenditure that you will incur under the PMIS, you can count it as a part of corporate social responsibility expenditure. But how much expenditure will be incurred by, right? Let's say the companies under this, the total amount of stipend that will be provided to the right candidates under this. Stipend means monthly payment. The total amount of payment will be 5,000 rupees. Out of this, 4,500 will be the cost incurred by the central government. Remaining 500 rupees will be paid by the respective company. It will be paid by the respective company, and this 500 rupees will be counted as a part of the corporate social responsibility expenditure. Done? Everybody's okay? So this initiative will essentially help you to get employment. Your employability feature will increase. Your skill sets will start increasing. Now you can easily get, right, let's say the employment opportunities in the market because you have been skilled by the companies. And in addition to this, the government also says it will extend the insurance coverage under the initiatives such as Jeevan Jyoti Bima Yojana, Suraksha Bima Yojana, Pradhana Mantri Suraksha Bima Yojana, and Jeevan Jyoti Bima Yojana, which are essentially the initiatives to provide insurance coverage. The coverage under this will be provided, right, to the candidates under the PMIS. So these are certain very important points associated with the internship scheme. Has been launched very, very recently. Remember, employment, one question is generally asked by the UPSC, right? So this initiative, as far as I'm concerned, is very, very important, especially under the employment chapter. Everybody's okay? Can I move on to the next one? Do let me know in the chat section. Can I move on to the next one now? Should I participate in this scheme as I'm in the age group with preparing for UPSC? Is it mandatory? My dear, it is not mandatory for everyone in the age group of 21 to 24. It's not mandatory. If you want to participate, you can participate. But I hope you understand. You are expected to work in the sense under internship, it's a training exercise. You're expected to work for 1 year under the PMIS initiative. Okay, done. Let me go forward. Any other doubts? Right, nobody is having any kind of doubts. Good then. Okay, let me go forward. Why tourism promoting near port? My dear, employment, revenue generation. I hope you understand. Economic activity. Tourism is an economic activity. It will contribute to, right, let's say, generation of revenues. It will contribute to employment generation. It will increase the demand for the goods and services in the region. The reason you want to promote tourism in the coastal region. Okay, let me go forward. Next initiative I want to cover, next scheme is PLI, Production Linked Incentive. The production linked incentive, no doubt, has put the light on importance of manufacturing sector, but the success of it depends upon the resolution of challenges in its implementation. Now, important points, right? Why I'm giving you a question on PLI? In the last 3 months, as it is important. Launched in 2020, we are in 2025, so obviously important. But in the last couple of months, the government of India has come out in defense of this initiative. The government of India has defended this initiative and said everything is fine with this initiative. It is working wonders in India. What are the arguments put forward by government of India? I'll tell you. But before that, what are the important points? The government of India back in the year 2020 announced an initiative by the name of Production Linked Incentive. Initially under PLI, the government covered only three sectors. The government covered only three sectors. But over a period of time, more and more sectors have been covered under the PLI. And today, 14 sectors are covered under PLI. 14 sectors. This is point number one. Point number two, under PLI, the government of India aims higher amount of investment. The aim of the government under PLI is to attract a higher amount of investment, be it from the domestic market or be it from the foreign market, doesn't matter. The government of India wants you to invest more and more. Why? If you invest more, you will be generating employment in India. Correct? You'll be able to generate employment. If you invest more, that will contribute to capital formation. That will lead to higher production. And when you produce more, you can export more from India. This will reduce import dependence. It will automatically reduce the import dependence. And at the same point of time, if you produce more, contribution to the GDP will also start increasing. Gross domestic product contribution from manufacturing will start increasing. Right? So these are some of the objectives with which government of India has launched Production linked incentive. Under this, the government essentially has allocated 1.97 lakh crore rupees. Listen to me. The government of India has allocated 1.97 lakh crore rupees. And what will be the use of this money? The government has set certain amount of targets for participating companies. Certain targets are allocated to the participating companies. For example, the targets could be in terms of investment every year. The target could be in the form of, right, let's say the amount of production and the sales done by the companies, etc. So, certain amount of target is provided to all the participating companies. And if the companies can meet these particular targets, the government will provide incentives. The government will provide incentives generally in the range of 4% to 6%, which will vary from one sector to another sector. Do not memorize individually. Generally, in the range of 4% to 6% of the additional sales will be provided in the form of incentives to the companies which are participating, which are covered under PLI. So far, so good. Right, so this is the introduction. These are the objectives. This is the carrot, that is the incentive announced by the government. So for more than 700 companies, I repeat, more than 700 companies have been covered under the production linked incentive. But at the same point of time, have a look at this. There are various issues or concerns which have been raised by the participants, many of the companies and experts in association with the PLI. Their arguments are very simple. Point number one, they say the kind of conditions which have been laid by the government, kind of conditions which have been kept by the government under PLI, these conditions are very, very stringent, very, very strict in the sense these conditions are at very high level, very difficult for us to meet all the conditions. This is the first very important concern. Second very important concern, various experts also say, are we promoting manufacturing under PLI or are we promoting assembly under PLI? That is, the manufacturers essentially will bring all the components in India. They are covered under PLI. Instead of producing these components or purchasing from the domestic market, they will bring it into India. They will fit all of these components, create a final good, sell it in India. So are we promoting, right, assembly in India or are we promoting manufacturing? Because if you promote manufacturing, value addition will be much higher. You simply promote assembly, not very high value addition, because you're simply bringing in the imports or let's say the spare parts and right putting together the spare parts in it. That is the second concern. Third concern is this was introduced in order to reduce import dependence. But has India's import dependence come down, right, since last 4 years, since the launch of PLI? Many data sets simply show that the amount of imports have actually increased, especially from China, despite introducing PLI in India. Right. Next concern, the infrastructure. What kind of infrastructure do we have in India? Is it going to support the kind of manufacturing? Is it going to support exports from India? And when I say infrastructure, I'm talking about road infrastructure, port infrastructure, right? Raw material producer, etc. There is a lack of supporting infrastructure in India. In addition to this, one more important concern is the government of India so far has only released around 8% of the total allocated funds. The total allocated funds is around 1.97 lakh crore rupees. Hardly around 8% of the funds have been released by government of India. And many companies argue we have met the targets, we have submitted the data, but the government authorities are delaying the issuance of the incentives under PLI. So these are some of the issues or concerns which have been raised by various companies, various experts in association with the PLI. Now, what is the argument of government of India? What has government of India said in defense of the PLI? Point number one, government of India simply says, whenever you talk about the PLI, do not jump to a conclusion whether this is a success or a failure immediately for a simple reason. Many of the projects which have been approved will take 2 years. will take 3 years for the projects to commence operations. In that particular situation, what if the project has been approved or the company has been covered very recently, let's say in 21 or 22, which means the approval has been provided, but the project will take another 1 year for them to start operation. So it will take certain time period. Do not jump to a conclusion regarding the success or the failure immediately. Point number two, the government also says, look at the amount of investment we have been able to attract because of PLI. The amount of investment we have been able to attract is to the tune of 14 lakh crore rupees. 14 lakh crore rupees. Right? So, I'm sorry, amount of investment is to the tune of 1.61 lakh crore rupees, and the sales of those companies which are covered under the PLI is to the extent of around 14 lakh crore rupees. So we have been able to sell more. We have been able to attract more amount of investment. It's a success. It has worked right in favor of Indian economy. The government also has disbursed around 14,000 crore rupees, and in the coming days, a more amount which supposed to be disbursed, which is supposed to be given, will be given by the government. And PLI has been contributing in terms of employment generation, in terms of investment, in terms of let's say reducing the import dependence, etc. So government of India simply says the scheme is success. Scheme is not a failure. The scheme is successful. There are certain issues. We will address these particular issues going forward. Right. So these are certain very important points associated with production linked incentive. Everybody is okay. Any examples of companies, my dear smartphone companies, right? Companies which are involved, right? Companies which are involved, let's say in the ACC, that is Advanced Chemical Cell Batteries, the companies which are involved in drone manufacturing, etc., etc. There are so many companies. Okay, in fact, the government of India always targets the smartphones in this context. It says, look at the smartphones. Earlier, we used to import smartphones in India. We were net importers. Today, when you talk about smartphones, India is a net exporter. We export more to the rest of the world. Government simply attributes the success of this to PLI. Okay, can we go forward? Done. Right. So next initiative I want to cover, next scheme I want to cover is the Soil Health Card. Yes, HC, Soil Health Card. Why I'm covering this, you'll understand in a minute. But please, before that, look at the question. The Soil Health Card scheme has helped in making agriculture sustainable and safeguarding the soil health for future generations. Elaborate 15 marker question in 250 words. Now, what is the issue here? Before I go to the features of Soil Health Card, what is the issue? Issue is very simple. In case of India, for various decades or multiple decades now, we have been using chemical fertilizers. Correct? We have been using chemical fertilizers. Right? For example, diammonium phosphate, muriate of potash. Right? So these are chemical fertilizers. Already there is a concern associated with that. That is, we import and incur a huge amount of a subsidy when you talk about chemical fertilizers. But in addition to this particular problem, one more problem is there is always a concern that these chemical fertilizers are overused. There is overusage of these chemical fertilizers. I'll just give you one example. One of the very important chemical fertilizers which is majorly consumed in huge quantities in India, more than required in India, is the chemical fertilizer urea, which has 46% nitrogen. So the amount of urea that is consumed in India is much, much higher than what is actually recommended by the scientist. Consumption is very, very high. The problem is when you consume these kind of chemical fertilizers, it will hamper soil fertility. It will have an impact on soil profile. And lot of these chemicals, when you apply in excess and if there is a rainfall, they will basically be washed away. You must have heard of eutrophication. It happens because of nitrogen only. So argument is there is always a concern associated with abuse or overusage of chemical fertilizers in the farming community. The government of India, in order to ensure that the farmers understand what kind of nutrients, right, they must supply to the soil, what is the quality of the soil on which they are cultivating, what kind of fertility is there in the soil, what kind of nutrients are already existing in the soil, etc. To provide this kind of information, the government of India launched an initiative called as Soil Health Card. Yes, HC. The Soil Health Card was launched in 2015, which essentially means it has completed 10 years now. Soil Health Card has completed 10 years. Now, what is the Soil Health Card? Soil Health Card is essentially the report card. It is the report card of the soil. On the soil on which I'm cultivating the crops, the report card for the soil is given. What is this report card? It will provide information regarding 12 parameters. This report card will provide information regarding 12 parameters. What are these 12 parameters? The macronutrients, the micronutrients, the acidity, right? Or let's say the basicity of the soil, that is measured in the pH scale, the electoral conductivity, and the carbon, organic carbon, how much is present. So, or information on all of these indicators, that is the 12 parameters, is given in this report card, which is called as a soil health card. And based on that, there are certain recommendations are also which are provided. Certain recommendations are provided, right? For example, what kind of crop is best suitable for the land? What kind of nutrients there is a lack of it? What kind of fertilizer you must apply, etc. All of this information is provided in the soil health card. It has completed 10 years now. And what is the use of the soil health card? Using this soil health card, the farmer can take timely decisions. Right? The farmer can take timely decisions. Timely in the sense, what kind of fertilizer should I supply to the soil? To what extent I should apply the fertilizer? What kind of crop is best suited for my soil, etc. All these decisions can be taken. Excess usage of fertilizers can be minimized, right? The abuse of the fertilizers, the loss of a soil profile, loss of soil fertility can be addressed using this particular soil health card scheme. Now, what is the status of the scheme? What has been the performance of the scheme? Listen to this very carefully. If a question is asked, you will have to quote all of this or at least some of these points. Soil health card scheme has been merged into one more scheme now, Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana, RKVY. The soil health card portal has been set up by Government of India now. Easily you can provide the information and right download right the soil health card from this particular, right, let's say the website now. The soil health card portal is available where farmers can track the soil samples, provide the information, soil health card will be made available to you. The government also has launched an initiative called as School Soil Health Program. Remember this. School Soil Health Program. What is this school soil health program? The government argues that rather than simply targeting only farmers and providing information to them, why not conduct certain awareness programs in the schools, especially in rural areas? Let's conduct certain activities where children in the schools, right, children, the children of let's say farmers, etc., they will be provided with certain information. Certain experiments will be conducted by these particular school children. They will become aware of, right, what is the importance of soil fertility. They will be made aware of a certain information regarding soil fertility, etc. And if that is done, automatically the information, because they're children, automatically the information will also get disseminated to all the other people residing in this particular region. So the spread of the information can be easily done if we can target the school going children. That's the reason the government has run a pilot program, which has been run in 20 schools, and now it is going to be expanded to 1020. Right? So these are certain important points associated with soil health card, which has completed 10 years now. Please be very careful. In addition to this, I'll just give you one more current affairs point here. If UPSC will ask you what other, right, let's say different measures which have been done in order to reduce utilization of, let's say, chemical fertilizer. If the question is that, what reforms or measures have been undertaken by the government to reduce the dependence on the chemical fertilizer? One, you can mention soil health card, right? One is soil health card. Second one, have you heard of an initiative called as PM Pranam? This has been launched a couple of years ago by Government of India. PM Pranam. PM Pranam initiative has been launched, but please understand, under the PM Pranam, the target that the Government of India set up is essentially to reduce the subsidy expenditure on fertilizers by 20,000 crore rupees. I'm giving you certain initiatives here. Please remember all of them. Under PM Pranam, the Government of India says the subsidy expenditure on fertilizers I want to reduce by 20,000 crores. Right now, the Government of India's data simply says, although it has been multiple years since the implementation, we are far away from achieving the target. We are achieving somewhere in the range of around 3,000 crore rupees savings. Right? Around 3,000 crore rupees savings have been done essentially by reducing the consumption of chemical fertilizer. This is very, very less compared to the target, which many experts say target itself is not very ambitious, very less amount. Why? The fertilizer subsidy bill of Government of India is to the tune of 1.7, 1.8 lakh crore rupees. Out of that, you want to reduce by just right 20,000 crore. The target should have been much, much higher. But anyways, PM Pranam. In addition to this, nano fertilizers, correct? All of you heard of this. Nano fertilizers, that is also being promoted. Nano fertilizers essentially are much better compared to, let's say, chemical fertilizers. The third one will be the natural farming. National Mission on Natural Farming has already been launched by the Government of India. Natural Farming Initiative. In addition to this, you can quote, right, the initiative where Government of India has reduced the packaging of these fertilizers. Generally, these fertilizers, many of them are sold in a weight of 50 kgs. But let's say, for example, urea, the package is generally done, right, less than 50 kgs, generally in the range of 45 kgs. Reason being, farmers generally purchase in bags. They don't focus on the weight, they generally purchase in bags. So if you generally package the bag in lesser weight, farmer instead of purchasing 500 kgs would have purchased only 450 when they purchase 10 bags. So, right, let's say multiple reforms have been undertaken by the Government of India in order to reduce our dependence on chemical fertilizers. Everybody is okay? Right, so question can be asked on soil health card, 10 years. Question can be asked on, right, discussion of the reforms which have been undertaken to reduce the reliance on chemical fertilizers. I've given you 5 initiatives here. You can quote them. Can I move on to the next one? Do let me know. So to every farmer holding land, these cards will be given by the government? Yes. If you're covered under this initiative, there is a process. There is an app also now. You can get enrolled, get a card. Any other questions? Please do let me know. Done. Let me go forward. Next, right? The question is on FPOs, Farmer Producer Organizations. FPOs. The question is very simple. I've given two questions here. The scheme to promote the formation of a farmer producer organization has promoted collectivization, provided financial support, enhanced market access. Elaborate. 15 marker in 250. One more question. FPOs will play an instrumental role in shaping a self-reliant, efficient and prosperous agriculture ecosystem. Elaborate. 15 marker 250 words. Now before I start the discussion, here are the important points. There is a term called as farmer producer organization. Farmer producer organization. Right? What is this concept of an FPO? Point number one, FPOs are either set up as cooperatives or set up as companies. These are either set up as cooperatives or are set up as companies under the Companies Act. But what is the argument? What is the basic idea of an FPO? In cooperative, the farmers will come together, form a group, and register as a cooperative. Same way, here also, the farmers who are the producers will come together, form a group. Either they will register the group as a cooperative or they will register it as a company. This is called as an FPO. The government of India has been promoting formation of FPOs. Reason being, the government simply says, rather than the farmers individually behaving, individually trying to purchase inputs, individually trying to sell in the market, individually trying to take a loan in the market, etc. Whenever they form a collective like this, whenever they form a group like this, it is always better. Right? The negotiations can be done in a much better way. The warehousing can be done by all of them together. The transportation can be done by all of them together. The sales can be done by this group together. Right? So the collectivization can be done using this model of FPO. And that is exactly what the government of India has tried to do in the last 5 years by announcing a scheme formation of formation and promotion of 10,000 FPOs scheme. And according to the government data, this target has already been met. The government of India simply says, we already have met the target. We have more than 10,000 FPOs registered in the last 5 years itself. Right? So have a look at the argument of the government here. Right? The government through this initiative, simply says, we will provide training to the farmers who are present in the group. We will provide a technical knowledge regarding equipments. We will try to promote, right? Let's say the banks providing loans to these particular FPO. Right? The argument of the government is promote formation of these groups, which will always improve the situation of the farmers in terms of performance, in terms of access to institutional credit, in terms of selling in the market, in terms of revenue capacity. Right? So the scheme has been launched 5 years now. It has already achieved the target. Right? So these are certain important points under this initiative. What kind of reforms have been implemented? What kind of measures or the steps have been taken by the government? The government has set up a credit guarantee fund. Do not memorize how much is the value, etc. Concept is simple. Just like the earlier credit fund, here also the government of India set up a credit fund where certain loans which are given to the FPOs, if they do not return, the guarantees are provided through the fund. There is registration of multiple FPOs on open network digital commerce ONDC, where these particular FPOs can sell their produce to buyers throughout India. The government also has signed an MOU. Right, the MOU has been signed between the Common Service Center (SPV) and the Minister of Agriculture. And what is the use of this? There are certain service centers which are called as Common Service Centers (CSC). These common service centers will provide certain services to, let's say, farmers. For example, enrollment into PM Kisan, right? Enrollment into, right, insurance scheme, for which, right, let's say, whatever services they provide, they impose and collect nominal charges. Right? So the government of India now says these FPOs will be provided with the certification, will be allowed to function as a common service center, which will add to the source of revenue or the income for the FPOs. Right? So these are some of the initiatives that the government of India has undertaken under the scheme. What are the advantages of the scheme? Like I said, FPOs through collectivization will have better bargaining power when they want to sell it to the companies now. It will promote access to institutional credit because individually the farmer is not taking loan. The group, that is a cooperative, is taking a loan. The company is taking a loan. It is always rated better by the banks rather than giving loan to individual borrowers. Adverse impact on price fluctuations can be managed better because it is right. Essentially, they are in a group now. right? They can manage, right, better supply, better transportation, better warehousing, etc. Aggregation will help in reducing the cost of transportation, cost of warehousing. Joint management, warehousing will also become better now. Government support, right, the access to modern technology. I told you this. The government is providing training to the FPOs, that is the farmers who are present in this. They are providing information regarding better technologies, etc. So the farmers now will be able to get access to better knowledge, utilize that in terms of production. Right? So these are some of the advantages of this initiative of Government of India, that is essentially formation and promotion of 10,000 FPOs scheme. Important reason being 5 years. It has completed 5 years now. Important one. Okay, let me go to the next initiative. Next initiative, electric vehicle production in India will play an important role in the context of energy security, environmental sustainability, and industrial competitiveness. Discuss the measures undertaken by the government in the EV production. Why this question has been provided? I'm pretty sure all of you have heard of this initiative of Government of India. This was announced very recently, that is in the last 1 year. Detailed guidelines were issued by the government last week. What is the initiative? The scheme to promote manufacturing of electric passenger cars in India. Scheme to promote manufacturing of electric passenger cars in India. SPMEPCI. What is the importance of this initiative? Until now, the government of India has already launched multiple initiatives to promote electric vehicle production in India. For example, the government of India launched a FAME 1 initiative, FAME 2 initiative. Now, this kind of an initiative has been launched for production of electric vehicles in India. Now, what are the important points and how it is going to contribute to EVs and the EV connection to, right, let's say the environmental protection. Point number one, all of you know that Government of India set up a target of 2070 for net zero emission. Correct? The Government of India has set up a target of 2070 for net zero emission. That is, by 2070, government simply says whatever emissions are being done by us, we will have sufficient capacity which will absorb this emission. Right? So net emissions will be zero. That is the target which has been set up by Government of India by 2070. Now, in order to achieve this particular target, multiple reforms have been implemented. For example, by 2030, the Government of India wants to make railways net zero. By 2030, the Government of India wants to make railways net zero. In terms of, let's say, renewable energy, the Government of India has been promoting production of renewable energy in India. It has set up a target of 500 gigawatts of renewable energy by 2030. And in terms of, let's say, the fuel consumption, the Government of India wants to promote a production and consumption of electric vehicles so that the fossil fuels such as petrol and diesel consumption in India will go down, emissions automatically will go down. So this is the connection between the electric vehicles as well as the environmental protection. Now come to the point here. In terms of promotion of EVs in India, the government now has launched an initiative by the name of SPMEPCI. What are the important points associated with this? Let me explain. Listen to me very carefully. There are multiple electric vehicle car manufacturers. Car manufacturers. I'm focused on the car here. Electric vehicle car manufacturers, global brands which are operating in India. These companies, when they import these EVs, they will pay very high import duties. Very high import duties. High in the range of what? In the range of 70% to 110%. The import duties paid are very, very high. The government of India simply says, if you can promise to invest in India, the amount of investment is more than 4,000 crore rupees. That is around $500 million. Right? So if you promise to me that you will invest $500 million and you will start production of these electric products, electric cars in India. If you promise to start the production in the next 3 years, and if you promise to achieve domestic value addition, that is essentially out of all the components that you require, how much of the components you will have to source from India, domestic value addition. If you promise that in the 5 years you will achieve a domestic value addition of 50%, then for the next 5 years, I will allow you to import these electric cars at a customs duty of only 15%. Is everybody able to understand? For the next 5 years, I will allow you to import these particular electric cars. How much? 8,000 per year. I will allow you to import 8,000 units per year. You don't have to pay higher customs duty. You can pay just 15% customs duty. Right? So this is the initiative that has been announced by the government. Now let's do the critical evaluation here. Let's do the critical evaluation. What are the benefits of this initiative? What are we trying to achieve with this initiative? Point number one, we want foreign EV manufacturers to invest in India. Point number two, over a period of time, because of this investment, over a period of time, employment would be generated. Production will happen in India. Supply will happen in India. The suppliers in India will be, right, let's say, benefiting from this initiative. The cost of the cars over a period of time, we are expecting to moderate, and this is beneficial for the Indian economy. And in addition to all of this, electric vehicles consumption of this is also good for environment. But having said so, there are concerns. There are issues. What are the issues associated with this initiative? Many experts have looked at the, right, let's say, initiative, and they say, apart from this benefit, that is, for the next 5 years, you are allowing them to import 8,000 cars per year, 8,000 cars at 15% customs duty. Apart from this, what is the benefit for these companies? What other benefits are you providing to them? No other benefit, just 15%. Right? You're simply telling them 15% customs duty. Apart from this, what other benefits? So argument is just only this benefit may not be attractive enough for the foreign companies to invest in it. Right? Only one benefit may not be enough for these particular companies to invest in India. And that too, you're providing a benefit for how many cars? 8,000 cars. For foreign companies, 8,000 cars is a very small number. These companies sell cars in terms of lakhs, in terms of millions of units. They want a higher flexibility. It may not be attractive enough for the foreign companies to invest 500 million and also conform to the domestic value addition. So these are some of the concerns or the issues which have been raised associated with this initiative of SPMEPCI announced by the Government of India last year. Detailed guidelines announced very recent. Done? Right. So this is one more initiative. Anybody has any kind of a doubt, do let me know. How better bargaining? My dear, if you go in a group, if farmers are in a group because the produce is higher in quantity, don't you think they will be able to bargain in a better way? Simple. How prices will moderate? Right now, suppliers are not there. If the companies will start investing in India, they will have to procure from India. They will have to purchase a lot of these inputs from India. Don't you think production will increase? If production increases, prices have to moderate. Simple logic. Okay. Now let me go forward. Ujala and SLNP have brought in transformative changes along with the promotion of environmental sustainability. Elaborate. Now listen to me carefully. The government of India launched an initiative back in the year 2015, National LED Program. There was an initiative called as National LED Program. Under the National LED program, there are two components: Street Light National Program and Unnata Jyoti affordability for through LEDs for all, SLNP and Ujala. SLNP basically focuses on replacement of street lights with LED lights. Ujala initiative focuses on replacement of the old lights, right? Incandescent, etc. Those lights with LED lights in the households. One is the street light and the other one is the household lighting. So the government of India, in order to ensure that the efficiency of the power, efficiency means how much output you are getting by using one unit. In order to improve the power efficiency, energy efficiency, implemented these two initiatives, that is SLNP and Ujala. And what is the use of this? Of this is very simple. Now listen to me very carefully. Whenever you talk about power sector in India, whenever you talk about power sector in India, there are multiple issues which are talked about, which are mentioned in the context of power sector. For example, they talk about power sector in the context of high cost of production. Production cost is higher, and when the cost of production is higher, obviously the electricity bills, when you supply it to the consumers, the electricity bills will be higher. The tariff for the consumers would be higher. Another issue is there is generally the concern associated with how much is the supply of electricity and how much is the demand for electricity. Supply and demand. And generally, the demand for the electricity remains higher compared to supply. Hence, right, multiple times in multiple regions, etc., there will be electricity cuts. There will be, right, electricity supply disruptions which are caused because the demand is very high, supply is not there. Right. So, argument of government of India was, can we reduce, right, the demand for this electricity through increasing the efficiency? Meaning what? Instead of using one unit and burning, let's say hypothetically for 5 minutes, that is the bulb, can we replace these bulbs with LED bulbs, which will use the same amount of units of electricity but will provide more power, more lighting to us? That is the efficiency point. So the government of India, under the national LED program, has replaced the street lights with LED lights and has replaced, right, the old lights, incandescent bulbs in the households with LED lights. And because of this, the efficiency of, right, let's say the electricity or the power has improved. The demand gap which was present earlier is much lower because of the LED lights. Right. So the importance of the initiative is this. In terms of data, how much has been, right, the importance, how much has been saved, etc. LED streetlights installed 1.3 crore LED streetlight bulbs have been installed. Second, energy savings. Because of the LED bulbs, we have been able to save 9,001 million units. And again, this is associated only with the street light. With, right, the Ujala, I'll tell you the data. More than 1,500 megawatt peak demand reduction has taken place. Peak demand in the sense, during certain time period, the demand will be much higher than the normal demand. For example, during summer days, especially during the daytime of summer days. During evening time, the demand will be much higher than the normal demand. That is called as a peak demand. Okay, CO2 emission reduction, etc. So these are certain benefits or the outcomes because of the SLNP initiative. What about, right, let's say the Ujala initiative? Because of the Ujala initiative, right, so far under this 36 crore bulbs have been distributed by the government. In the last decade, it has become one of the world's largest zero subsidy program. Zero subsidy means government is not providing any kind of subsidy for the implementation of Ujala. Government is not giving any kind of subsidy. Okay. The share of LEDs in the lighting market was just 1%. Now it has been, right, it has entered into double digits. And the benefits because of Ujala initiative have been: one, peak demand has been lowered by 9,500 plus megawatts. The scheme has helped save more than 19,000 crore rupees. CO2 emissions of 3.87 crore tons per year have been reduced because of LED bulbs. And finally, the households have saved on the electricity bills. Right? So these are the savings because of SLNP, and these are the savings because of Ujala. Questions can be asked in SLNP, Ujala, or overall, right, the national LED program. Right, now you know the data. Please memorize certain data. If at all a question is asked, you can write this particular data. You will get very good marks. Okay. Now let me go to the next initiative. Everybody is okay? Let me go to the next initiative. As India continues its journey towards becoming a global leader in innovation, the Startup India program remains, right, a key driver of economic growth, fostering inclusive and vibrant entrepreneurial ecosystem. Discuss 15 marker question 250. What is this idea? What is the question all about? The government of India back in the year 2016 launched an initiative called as Startup India. Startup India. Now listen to me very carefully. This initiative, old one, but very recently, because of certain statements which were done by Mr. Piyush Goyal, Startup India has been there in the discussion. Now, what are the points associated with Startup India? Right? What are the concerns and what has been done by the government? If you can understand, question is asked, you can write about Startup India initiative. Now, point number one, the Startup India initiative was launched back in 2016. And what is the benefit of Startup India, or what are the objectives of a Startup India initiative? It is implemented by DPIIT, Department for Promotion of Industries and Internal Trade. DPIIT. Now, under this initiative, if any company is recognized by the DPIIT as a startup, for 3 years, there will be 100% corporate tax exemption. That is, whatever profits you have generated, you do not have to pay even a single rupee tax on that. You will get 100% tax exemption. There is a process of easy registration also. There is a seed fund scheme also which has been set up. Seed fund means a startup in the initial phases to design, to get a model ready, etc., will face lot of difficulties because they are not able to get the funds. And this particular initiative funding is called as seed funding. The government of India will provide seed funding under Seed Fund India scheme. There is also, right, credit guarantee fund also. Credit guarantee scheme also has been set up. That is the banks which will provide loan to these particular startup. Certain percentage of the loans are guaranteed by the government. There is also, right, a fund of funds where certain AIFs, alternative investment funds, will be given money, and these AIFs will invest in the startups. Right? So, multiple types of reforms or the measures have been undertaken by the government under Startup India scheme. And as a result of this, right, what has happened as a result of this? As a result of this, 1.59 lakh startups have been recognized by DPIIT. The Indian startup ecosystem is one of the largest ecosystems in the world. That is, the number of startups recognized by the government are one of the largest in the world. Generally, India is ranked as the third largest ecosystem. 16 lakh jobs have been generated by these particular startups. 73,000 startups have at least one woman director. Right? So, because of the Startup India scheme, the government of India simply says these are the achievements. These are the achievements of the Startup India scheme. But having said so, there are certain concerns as well. There are certain issues as well associated with the Startup India scheme. The issues are: one, lot of these startups get initial assistance, get initial funding, but they will not be able to develop a model. They will not be able to develop, right, let's say a product which is economically viable. They will be forced to shut down. You must have seen many startups not being able to create a product which is acceptable in the market, and immediately after certain months, after certain years, they will close. Many of these particular startups in recent times have not been able to get funding. After the pandemic got over, many of these particular startups have faced the issue of funding. Many of these particular startups, right, have invested a lot of money, developed a product, but this particular product is very costly, not affordable, right, not able to sell in the market, right, not able to find buyers, sufficient number of buyers in the market, closed. Many of these startups have not been able to invest in R&D, create a patent, create, right, let's say copyright, etc. And they have not been able to sustain a competition in them. So that is a precise reason in case of India. Again, having said so, do not jump to a conclusion startup India has been a failure. No, there are certain important startups in India as well. For example, let's say quick delivery, e-commerce startups. They are sustaining, they are surviving, they are thriving in India. But at the same point of time, we also need to ensure other types, other forms of startups will also, right, be promoted under the Startup India. Done? Right. So these are certain important points. Startup India initiative can be asked because of the statement or the speech that was given by Mr. Piyush Goyal. You people, please be very, very careful. Okay. Let me go forward to the next, right, let's say scheme. India's import dependence on critical minerals is a threat to its growth ambitions. Discuss and recommend a way forward. Right? Can we continue? Everybody is okay with the discussion so far? And this question is associated with the concept of critical minerals. And what is the context here? In recent times, there has been a lot of discussion associated with critical minerals. Right? In case of India, is there any initiative? Is there any reform which is targeting critical minerals? There is one initiative. Please be very careful. There is an initiative by the name of NCMM. NCMM, National Critical Mineral Mission. National Critical Mineral Mission. This was launched very recently in January 2025. Remember this. January 2025, NCMM was launched by Government of India. Now, so far what has been done? Then we will connect it to NCMM. The Government of India, couple of years ago, through the recommendations of the committee, identified 30 minerals as critical minerals. The government has identified 30 minerals as critical minerals. And what is the meaning of a critical mineral? Any mineral which, right, let's say, is important for industries. And if there is any disruption in the supply, affecting the industries, these are called as critical minerals. And that is a precise reason from one country to another country. How many are critical minerals? Number will vary. Which is a critical mineral? It will vary. But in the context of India, 30 minerals have been announced or notified by the government of India as critical minerals. Now, in order to promote the production of critical minerals, in order to promote investment in mining of critical minerals, Government of India in January 2025 has launched NCMM. What is the importance of the National Critical Mineral Mission? Under this, the Government of India simply says the government would be investing around 16,000 crore rupees. I am rounding off the number. Through the proposal, the government and along with certain other subsidiaries, the government would be investing around 16,000 crore rupees. In addition to this, the public sector undertakings will be investing 18,000 crore rupees. So for the next 6 to 7 years, because the target year is 2030 and 2031, for the next 6 to 7 years, the argument will be that is this amount of investment will be done For what purpose? The purposes are very simple. One, we want to promote exploration of critical minerals. We want to promote exploration. That is generally in the context of India. Listen to me very carefully now. There are a lot of critical mineral sites. There are regions where we have identified the presence of critical minerals. The government of India, in fact, has a policy to auction these mineral sites. But so far, the problem has been that the private sector participation has been lackluster. The private sector participation has not been up to the expected level. And if you're wondering why, reason the private sector simply says the information, that is what kind of mineral deposit is present, what is the quality of the mineral deposit, is it commercially viable or not, etc., which is part of the exploration process. In case of India, there is a lack of that. There is a certain lack of that. Right? So have a look at this. Under this, we want to exploration, or we want to intensify the exploration of critical minerals. We want to speed up the regulatory approvals that are given for critical mineral mining projects. And we want to offer certain financial incentives for the projects which will focus on critical exploration or critical mineral exploration. Right? So essentially, these are the focus areas of National Critical Mineral Mission. And the argument remains the same here. India has a certain deposits of critical minerals. But most of these critical minerals we are importing. We are import dependent. We want to reduce the import dependence, and we want to promote more and more exploration, investment, processing, and supply of the critical minerals in the domestic market itself. And that is where this initiative of Government of India, that is NCMM, will play a very, very important. Done? Okay. Right. So these are certain important points associated with the National Critical Mineral Mission announced very recently. If you're wondering, sir, where is the evaluation of this initiative? Right? Where is the status of this initiative? Has it been successful or not? My dear, announced very, very recently, January 2025. Right? So it will take time. Don't worry. But if at all a question is asked on, let's say, critical minerals in India, make sure that you write a point associated with the NCM. Everybody's okay? Please do let me know. Couple of more initiatives. Couple of more initiatives. Then we'll be done with the discussion. Don't worry. Next one is textiles. Next one is the area of textiles. Now, in case of area of textiles, please understand, Economic Survey has spoken about the issue of textiles. Very recently, Government of India has also said we want to implement reforms in the textiles. Textiles industry is important, reason being it is a labor intensive industry. It is a labor intensive industry. Around 30% of the total expenditure incurred by a textile unit is because of the labor itself. Right? So it's a labor intensive industry. So argument is there is an issue associated with the textile sector. That is, we are not able to export more and more to the international market. And how much is the data associated with that? India is the sixth largest exporter in the global market. Sixth largest exporter. But when you look at how much is the total trade of textiles, how much does India does, how much export does India does, it is a very small percentage. The total global trade of textiles is in the range of more than $800 billion. India's exports are less than $40 billion. Less than $40 billion. Which means we are one of the largest exporters, no doubt. But in terms of percentage, our percentage of the total trade of exports is a very, very small percent. And it's a labor intensive sector. So we need to promote, right, the textile sector. So one initiative that has been announced by the government 5 years ago, I'll come back to this, don't worry, is a National Technical Textiles Mission. Remember this. National Technical Textiles Mission. There is one more initiative I would recommend highly I would recommend, right, let's say you highly go through that particular initiative as well, PM Mitra. Under PM Mitra, again, that has not been implemented for a very long duration. That's the reason I'm not covering that here. Under PM Mitra, the government of India has aimed to set up 7 textile parks, right? Textile parks, integrated textile parks have been proposed under PM Mitra. But in addition to that, there is one more initiative which has completed 5 years. That is NTTM, National Technical Textiles Mission, completed 5 years. Under this, right, I hope you understand the total expenditure for this initiative, which has been allocated by the government, is around 1400 crore rupees. Around 1400 crore rupees. What is the objective of government of India under NTTM? The government has set a target of training 50,000 people in technical textiles. And some of you might be wondering, what is a technical textile? Technical textile essentially is that particular segment where the textiles that are produced are used for specific purposes. Specific purposes. For example, in automobile industry, in space exploration, right? Or for that matter, let's say the certain textiles which can withstand high pressure, etc. So there are certain textiles which are used in specific areas, specific purposes, right? Which will have certain specific features. These are called as technical textile, right? So under this, the target is 50,000 people should be trained, skilled. The mission is focused on developing usage of these technical textiles, especially under various government initiatives. There are 4 components of this initiative. Please have a look at this. The focus will be on promotion of R&D, promotion and marketing of this, right? Export promotion, as well as education, training, and skill development. These are the 4 components of NTT. Now, if you're wondering, sir, what is the importance of these initiatives? Talk about PM Mitra or talk about NTTM. What is the importance of these initiatives? Why should the government promote it? The reason behind this is textile sector faces multiple issues. What kind of issue? One, most of the units which are producing textiles in India are small and micro. These are small and micro. How many? More than 90% of the units which are producing textiles are small and micro. So in terms of size and scale, we are very, very small. Right? Large number of units, but these are very, very small. What about, let's say, access to capital? That is, let's say you take a loan. In case of India, on an average, the rate of interest charged is 9%. In China, it is around 3%. In Vietnam, it is around 4 to 5%. So, capital accessibility, the cost of capital is also much lower in our competitor. Right? When you export or when you import it, when you're importing, let's say, certain raw material, the government of India has imposed a lot of restrictions, lot of documentation, lot of, right, let's say, submission has to be done. This increases the cost of import. And when the cost of import increases, automatically the cost of export also increases. So I hope you understand the textile industry faces lot of issues. The government of India simply says we want to address these particular issues so that essentially the production in India increases, exports also increase. In fact, I'll add one more point here. Today itself, right? Today's newspapers itself. This happened yesterday, by the way. The government of India has set up a task force. The government of India has set up a task force targeting textile industry. What is the use of this particular task force? The task force is supposed to study what are the problems faced by the industry. What are the different regulations which are holding it back? What way we can promote exports from the textiles, etc., etc. So yesterday itself, the government of India has announced establishment of a task force to basically address the issues, structural issues faced by the textile industry. Right. So various reforms are being undertaken, various issues are being discussed. You be aware of it. If the question is asked, please write about it. Okay, what is the status of NTTM? Center under the NTTM has approved 50 lakh rupees for each of the seven startups. Seven startups have been identified under this. 50 lakh rupees has been allocated or has been approved for seven startups. Already there is one more already which has been covered, including that eight startups have been identified under ATTM. NTTM. Okay, done. Right. So these are certain important points associated with National Technical Textiles Mission. Okay. Next initiative, smart cities. The smart cities mission has led to changes in the smarter governance, better transportation, and improved safety. 15 marker question, 251. Now, before you if you start wondering, sir, why question on smart cities mission? Please have a look at when this initiative was launched by the government. The government of India launched the smart cities mission in 2015. 2015. So the smart cities mission has completed 10 years. So any initiative which completes 10 years automatically becomes important for the mains exam. Let me discuss here. The government of India identified 100 cities and designated these 100 cities as smart cities. And what was the objective? These 100 cities now will basically undertake multiple activities. Generally, the activities were divided into two parts. One, existing infrastructure, right? Whatever existing infrastructure is there, if there is a need for retrofitting means any change in the existing infrastructure, if that is required, we will do that. If new infrastructure has to be developed, we will develop new infrastructure as well. That is expansion as well as retrofitting, both were covered under the initiative called as smart cities. But why these were called as smart cities? Essentially, the argument of the government was we will start using the technology, right? We will provide multiple services in these particular cities using ICT, information communication technologies. So we have identified 100 cities, 10 years are over. What is the status and what is the problem? If you can understand that, more than sufficient. As of 4th March 2025, 100 cities, out of that, remember, only 18 cities have completed all the projects which were identified under the Smart Cities program. 18 cities. Only 18 cities have been able to complete all the projects. What about the status of all the 100 cities put together? 93% of the total projects amounting to 1.5 lakh crore rupees have been completed. But please understand, it is overall for all the 100 cities. In some of the cities, it will be more than 93% of the projects. In some of the cities, it will be much lower than 93% of the total projects. 559 projects are still pending, right? These are ongoing, which are yet to be completed. Only 18 cities have completed all the projects which were identified under Smart City. But what is the issue here? Why we have not been able to do that? The reason which has been cited by the experts is all the cities which were identified to develop, right? Basically, the smart city as a smart city, funding was given by the center, certain funding they had to do on their own. The bigger cities which had sufficient amount of revenues, different resources, they were able to invest. What about those smaller cities which did not have sufficient financial powers, which did not have sufficient financial resources, which were not able to generate money from different sources, etc.? They have suffered, they have lagged behind in investment and development of, right? So that is the reason many of the cities are yet to complete all the projects which have been covered under the smart city. But anyways, in what way the governance has improved here? In what way kind of technology has been utilized? Right? These are the achievements. Point number one, in these particular cities, now have a look at this. There is a command and control center. What is the meaning of a command and control center? There is a centralized office from which all the, right, let's say services all the resources are monitored, etc. You have a command and control center. Okay. Safety and surveillance has been improved. Thousands of CCTVs have been installed in these particular smart cities. Right? Technology has been used in 60 cities to improve how the garbage is collected. In many of the cities, you must have seen there is a better way using a technology. They're able to track, right, whether all the households in the city are being covered in terms of garbage collection or not. In fact, there have been case studies regarding this as well. So technology has been used to collect garbage, right? Waste handling, etc. You are using technology for that. And not just in this, even in terms of transportation. You have an intelligent transport management system to provide, right, the services of transportation in a better way. You have dedicated cycling tracks, etc. So these are some of the achievements of these particular cities covered under the program called as Smart City Project. Done? Right. So I've told you the concern or the problem why we have not been able to complete. Achievements, what are the provisions, what is the status. More than sufficient for this particular initiative. So these are, right, let's say the 15 schemes I wanted to cover in this particular session. Again, the logic behind these particular schemes is one, either the scheme has completed 5 years. Second, scheme has completed 10 years. Third, scheme is, right, let's say not completing either 5 or 10, but it has been there in the newspaper. For example, Startup India scheme. Now, if you have any questions, do let me know. I'll address all of your questions. Then we can close the session for today. Intelligent transport means what, my dear? If you have a system where you can track all these particular routes, right, how the transportation can be provided, what is efficient mode, what kind of, or let's say how many routes can be covered, what should be the, right, let's say velocity, or let's say what should be the number of buses used, etc. For all of that they are using systems now. That is essentially centralized intelligent transportation system. Any other question? Please do let me know. Any other question regarding the 15 schemes that I've covered today? Now, before I close the session, right, if you like this initiative, if you have gotten any kind of knowledge, if you have benefited from this initiative, please do not forget to hit the like button. And if you are yet to subscribe to our YouTube channel, kindly do it right now. Again, just to reiterate, those who want to download the PPT, right, you can join the Telegram channel after the session is over. I will upload the PPT as well as the handout in my Telegram channel. Market development in textile, my dear, if you can conduct a certain, let's say, certain events in certain regions, you will go. The government will conduct exhibitions, etc. Right? It will ensure the penetration of the products will happen in that particular region. For a lot of these particular products, for example, those products which are covered under one district to one product, the government of India itself will set up exhibitions in the global market so that the foreigners will come, have a look at the product, place a demand, place an order for India's products. Right? So argument is same. Market development can be done through different methods like this. Okay. Any other question? Done then. So that's it from my side in this particular session. Take care. All the best. Uh, you will be able to download the PPT after the session is over in this Telegram channel. Do join it if you want to download. That's it from my side. Have a great day.